What is happening in Jammu and Kashmir? In the last 3 days, we have seen three different terror attacks. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. After the record turnout in the Kashmir Valley made headlines, there is a different sort of headline that is emerging from Jammu and Kashmir, where the Pir Panjal has emerged as the new epicenter of renewed terror activity. Even as the new government was being sworn in, we first saw a bus carrying pilgrims come under terrorist attack. Then we have seen the encounter that has taken place in Kathua. And then we have seen a joint patrol party of the police and the army come under attack in the high mountain regions of Doda. Three different places, three different attacks in 3 days. What do we make of what's happening? Has Pakistan turned on the terror tap again? How do we understand the timing? Remember, as I said, the first attack happened on the day Modi 3.0, the new NDA government, was in fact taking oath in the capital. We're also seeing reports of the terrorists having been armed with US-made high-caliber assault rifles. As our security personnel are on the ground in situations that are still alive and tense, two terrorists have been killed in Kathua. How do we understand all of this? The politics has erupted as well. Valley-based politicians have said that this shows that normalcy is still a far cry. But the fact is that the kind of turnout, the kind of campaigning that we saw in the Kashmir Valley is unprecedented. Record-breaking turnouts, images that we probably, those of us who spent a lifetime reporting from Jammu and Kashmir, we probably thought we would never see. How do we understand all that's happening? Let me introduce our guests today as we look at this alarming news that has been coming out of Jammu and Kashmir for the last 3 days. General Ata Hasnain, military veteran, former General Officer Commanding of the 15 Corps, is with us. Welcome, sir. Always a pleasure. Also somebody who has fought at the front line, SP Wahid, former Director General of Police of Jammu and Kashmir. Good to see you, sir. Also joining us is Wahid Para, young politician of the PDP. You saw Wahid campaigning at night, and we'll be showing you those pictures, carrying mashals late into the night in Anantnag, which was once a militancy hotbed. So let's not say that nothing has changed in Jammu and Kashmir, because I was there on the ground and a lot has changed. But then, as they say, the more things change, do they remain the same? There's a kind of sense of deja vu in these horrible images that we're seeing. General Hasnain, I'll start with you. We'll also be joined by BJP leader Mr. Pathania in a moment, but we'll get the conversation going with you. What's happening? What do we make of the timing?
Barkha, thank you for inviting me for this very relevant program. And I start by stating very clearly, everything I say is essentially for national interest. No witch hunting, no pointing fingers at anyone. We are all looking for solutions which put India on a high. Having said that, this was something expected, I suppose, by people who know the ground well, who have studied Kashmir for the last 30 years. They know that every time something relevant is happening in the rest of India, something is being aimed at Jammu and Kashmir's normalcy, or the attempts to bring normalcy to Kashmir. I remind you of what happened to Chittu Singhpura on the 19th of March 2000, when Bill Clinton was to address Parliament, and from then onwards, we can take on many, many more examples. The question is, since 5th of August 2020, we have achieved a lot. We've moved ahead further, a tremendous amount. A lot has changed, as you've said yourself. Now, when a lot changes like this and you're looking at near normalcy coming about, I'm not saying normalcy is anywhere nearby at the moment, but near normalcy, the relevance of Pakistan starts dwindling. And we've spoken about this in previous programs too. Pakistan has invested just too much, 35 years into this. Tremendous amount of lives, tremendous amount of energy, focus and effort. They are not going to give it up so easily. They are not in a position to take it to a much higher level today, so they have to continue playing games in a manner so that they can ratchet up or kind of keep adding layers and layers of normality to the situation to make it as uncomfortable for the Indian government as such. The date they selected, 9th of June, very relevant date. The third inauguration of NDA, the NDA 3 coming into, Honorable Prime Minister coming to power once again. Obviously, the effort was to convey the message. This is all about communication, and it was well prepared. The communication was Things may have changed, but we are still in control. We will still make a difference to Kashmir. How do they execute it? I think an infiltration has taken place. Uh, from where we cannot say, it could be from Kathua, Samba, anywhere in these places. It could have happened. It's not happened in the valley, that's for sure. But they have chosen the area which is soft, comparatively softer. With what was happening in the area of Bhalesa and Rajouri, etc., lots and lots of troops had been inducted into that area, become much stronger. This area has also got a lot of troops, and I've spoken to the commanders on ground. It's also got a lot of troops which haven't come in to fill up the voids. But comparatively, the density is lower. So they decided not to first of all target a major military target. The first targeted a civilian target, which is a soft, simple, soft target. They got their dividends, and from that they got encouraged, and they've gone on to a spree thereafter. It seems they are proactively acting at the moment, which is a little unusual. It does not always happen. They avoid contact, but they seem to be proactively active at the moment and obviously being tasked to do something like this. Where have we perhaps not gone wrong, where things may have diluted? Our human intelligence is not as strong as it was before. And to replace it, technical intelligence has still not come of age at the moment. Uh, Troop density is there, but when you have strength of terrorists is very low, this kind of a thing can strike anywhere and deny it thereafter, or claim it, whatever strategy they wish to choose, right? So this is it at the moment. As we go along, we'll discuss what are the countermeasures that are required for it. It's not as if we are down and out. We have many, many options available to us at the moment.
Before we come to options, the point that you make about the timing, the fact that the first attack comes as the new government is taking oath, it's the same day. There are no coincidences in Jammu and Kashmir. This is one thing that we all know. You believe that Pakistan or Pakistan-backed terror groups, to be more specific, deliberately chose the day of the swearing in. I also see Mr. Patania joining us. Namaskar, sir. Thank you for joining us. General Hasnain was just explaining the targeting of the date. Kis din shuru hua or kyun hua? What was the aim, sir? Because let's also remind our audience that we had several leaders from the neighborhood at the swearing in. Bhutan, Bangladesh, Maldives. Pakistan has since tried to exchange messages with the Prime Minister on Twitter, Pakistan's leaders, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, Mr. Shehbaz Sharif. And the Prime Minister has also responded back, clearly drawing or reiterating the red lines. Now, my question to you is the timing, General Hasnain. What was the aim of trying to deflect the headlines on the day of the swearing in?
See, Barkha, one thing is very clear. We all are aware of the fact that Pakistan is not governed by a monolith. There are layers and layers within Pakistan. Pakistan ki deep state hai. We are all aware of what the deep state is. Multiple agencies which form it. Different interest groups playing games at different times. I think Pakistan, if you take it under normal circumstances and appreciate the situation, Pakistan should have been very, very careful. Because in the last, 10 years, we have actually depicted on ground, we have displayed that our red lines are very much there. You cross it and we will respond. This government, the government of Mr. Modi, has actually carried out those raids across by air or whether it was the surgical strikes, etc. So the Pakistanis are always worried about crossing those red lines. Now, obviously, there are elements within Pakistan who don't care a hoot about this. The army itself, the ISI, lots of elements within the ISI, they said everything be damned. We have to extricate the situation for Pakistan once again. And so they decide to take chances. And chances, this could have actually gone over the hump. I would say 9 casualties, 9 fatalities. If these fatalities had been 20, perhaps the situation may have been completely different.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happened in Uri, where you found initially it was 4 fatalities, which ended in 20 fatalities. And the kind of pressures the government was under, the government obviously went in and launched the surgical strikes at that particular time. So, obviously in Pakistan, there are games being played by different interest groups. And we need to be aware of that, but our response has to be to a nation. We can't start responding to different interest groups within Pakistan. For us, it is Pakistan which has acted, and therefore whatever response we have to give is to Pakistan.
Okay, those are very strong opening comments. Before I come to the others, Aris Patania, Wahid Para, SP Ved, I want to play out what security officials on the ground are saying, what they're going through. 2 terrorists have been killed, but we've also, lost a CRPF Jawan's life. Let me just play out for you Anand Jain from the ground. Take a look.
ये हमारा एक हॉस्टाइल नेबर है जिसके यहाँ पर जो पीसफुल हमारा सारा एनवायरनमेंट है उसको डैमेज करने के लिए उसकी हमेशा कोशिश ये रहती है। तो लिहाजा ये जो इन्फिल्ट्रेशन है ये अपीयर टू बी फ्रेश इन्फिल्ट्रेशन, और जैसे एक आतंकवादी मारा गया दूसरे की भी सर्च जारी है।
As General Hassan, you were saying, he's mentioning a fresh infiltration, but SP Ved Saab, he's also mentioning a hostile neighbor. Now, Pakistan की अपनी इतनी turmoil है. Imran Khan in jail, a weakened civilian regime, the Pakistan army calling the shots. थोड़े से चुप बैठे थे, एकदम से कैसे निकल के दोबारा आ गए? वैद साहब।
नमस्कार बरखा, ऐसा है, see, Pakistan, if you see as a nation, is in humiliating condition today. Going around with a begging bowl. Economic condition is so bad. People are suffering for food. You have seen how on a bag of atta people are fighting. But there is no dearth of funds to the deep state. They control everything. And Pakistan's deep state, you've seen how General Munir, almost a popular leader like Imran Khan, how he made him vanish. And got so many cases, and he has been imprisoned. Now he has to take control of things, and they can't, as General Hassan was saying, they can't let the investment for last 35 years, can't let it go so easily. If you see the pattern in Kashmir, how after abrogation of Article 370, as you were mentioning, you have been with Wahid, seeing how things have improved on ground, how development was going on. Today is the internet world of internet. Everyone in the POK and Pakistan is seeing what is happening this side of Kashmir. All this cannot be digested by the deep state. Somebody who's in charge of running the terrorism, he can't let it go. If see, after 19, after abrogation of Article 3, all this improvement which came in the situation in Kashmir, they started somewhere around September 2021, when ISI chief visited, as per reports, what do you call, Muzaffarabad. They changed the tactics of, if you recall, in Kashmir, a new phenomenon started of targeted killing. They started this where 2 people with 1 pistol will come and shoot a target, a minority, a Kashmiri Pandit, a teacher, an outsider, a rediwala, or a elected representative. They did, once this started, they tried to revive a atmosphere of fear, which slowly the J&K police and security forces, it took some time to them, but then they got over this also. Ultimately, when they did not succeed in Kashmir, you saw the response during the last election, how it was, the percentage of voting was almost like normal rest of India, 50% plus.
Better than Baramulla. Baramulla, more people in Baramulla voted than in Mumbai and Delhi.
Yeah, yes. So how can somebody who's in charge of running this terrorism digest this? They deny this to their own people in Pakistan. How can people of Kashmir enjoy this freedom of voting, and then the freedom from fear, which was visible? Now, what I am seeing in last about 1.5 to 2 years, they started, I think there was another change of strategy. They started looking toward Jammu region, which was largely free of terrorism in the last 15 years. And they initially chose Rajouri Punch, and Rajouri Punch for various reasons, and Jammu region for various reasons. It has, hilly terrain. Jammu Kashmir very well.
Yes.
Jammu region is unlike Kashmir Valley, which is plain. Jammu region is very hilly, rugged
Yeah.
mountains, thick forest, less connectivity. There, not every place is connected by road. Like in
Yeah.
Kashmir, you have communication problems. You have all these issues, and because of improvement in situation last 15 years, there were some units of RRs were withdrawn. Some CRPF, which was working, was also withdrawn. So less depleted strength of forces. So taking advantage of that, I think
Yes.
keeping those things in mind, they started focusing
So
Jammu,
so in a so Vatsab,
sorry, Jammu.
in a way, what you're saying is that to buttress General Hastain's point that the turnout and the success we saw in the turnout and in the peaceful election is directly linked to what Pakistan is doing now. Secondly, the turmoil in Pakistan occupied Kashmir should also be mentioned alongside. I want to get Wahid Para and Aris Patania in. Wahid Para, I have seen the pictures of you campaigning late into the hours of the night. Mashal leke, raat ko. Now, you and I have, known each other for many years. मुझे तो नहीं लगता कि these images were possible, a few years ago. So if we want to say nothing has changed, as a number of the politicians from the Kashmir Valley are saying today, वो भी गलत होगा. Wahid, how do you see what has happened? क्योंकि ये images
I think
देखिए आप, अपनी images, आपकी अपनी campaign की images हैं.
I think Barkha, this is the most important part of this whole conversation, and the reason we are facing such situation, what happened in Jammu also, is that people in Delhi, especially media and government, has to be really very careful. How do they project the turnout and normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir? Because in the end, this whole war of narratives of defining your peace and our peace, your turnout and our turnout, is a lot to do. How things become more unstable in Jammu and Kashmir. The whole credit of turnout should be given to the people of Kashmir. People have come out, they have initiated a dialogue, they have initiated a political process, so moto, with the people of India, with the government of India. Despite that, government has been trying their level best
With
to
the with
isolate
the with
Kashmiris
the rest of India, I would like to say.
with the rest of India, with
With the rest
everyone,
of
with the
India.
whole with
Yes.
the whole establishment in Delhi who've been trying to isolate Kashmiris from last many years. But the people, especially the boycott constituency, the youth constituency, people especially like the militant families, their mothers, kids, children, everybody was on polling booth. I saw a lot of people for the first time from an 18-year-old to 80-year-old. You have first time voters in Jammu and Kashmir coming out and voting for the constitution of India, voting for the democracy of India, voting for this whole festival where Kashmiris were always against. This is one day we have celebrated together. So after 70 years, this has happened. After 30 years of turmoil and violence, even if I have lost elections, I think the biggest victory is that the process has won, and that credit should be given to the people of Kashmir, to the youth of Kashmir. It should not become that BJP has done something miraculous, whatever may be the reasons, or this whole credit should be given to the people. And when we try to sell this credit, when we try to politicize the credit, that's where the whole problem of narratives comes, and that's when a lot of people who feel threatened by such definitions try to create instability in this region. And that's what has happened somewhere in Jammu. Whoever has felt threatened, whoever has felt cornered or isolated, has tried to
But
create a
Wahid,
situation
but
where we feel polarized. Today, this is an attack, not just a militant attack, terror attack. This is an attack also to create polarization in this place. This will create a lot of tensions, communal tensions, and such attacks are meant to provoke us. So you have to be very careful in a situation where people are
can,
actually moving towards progress. That
can
how do
I
we
ask you?
define this
Can I
turnout?
ask you? Can I ask you something? I met in Baramulla a former stone pelter. He used to be known as Chota Gilani. उसका नाम रखा हुआ था क्योंकि वो सड़कों पे आके पत्थर फेंकता था. He
जी जी
voted for the first time in his mid-30s. Then I met the father of two militant sons, one who was killed in an encounter, the other who is still in jail. He said, I want to invest in this process. I am saying, yes, the people of Jammu and Kashmir have invested in democracy in the process. But why do you link that with a Pakistan-backed terror group? what is the
not
connection? What is the connection? I want to understand why you're linking these two things.
जैसे आपने बोला, वैद साहब ने भी कहा कि कुछ लोगों को लगता है जो प्रोसेस होता है, या हसनैन साहब ने बहुत अच्छे से क्लियरली बोला दैट दिस हैज हैपन, टाइमिंग ऑफ दिस इंसिडेंट इज समथिंग टू डू विद व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन कश्मीर, इन जम्मू एंड कश्मीर. देयर इज द फर्स्ट टाइम अ political huge turnout, massive turnout, and things will unfold. Good and bad things will unfold. So we have to all be very careful to save this process of that Kashmiris have initiated. So moto, we saw Amir Jamaat on polling booth. That's a huge statement. After like for 30 years they said ये जमहूरियत कबूल ही नहीं है. आज 30 साल के बाद वो लोग जमहूरियत को, प्रोसेस को, डेमोक्रेसी को, उन्होंने वोट जिसको भी डाला हो, उन्होंने वोट जहां पे भी डाला हो, वो पोलिंग बूथ पे खड़ा होना इज अ ह्यूज स्टेटमेंट. एंड दैट्स द विक्ट्री ऑफ इंडियन डेमोक्रेसी, दैट्स द विक्ट्री ऑफ पीपल ऑफ इंडिया, दैट्स द विक्ट्री ऑफ एवरी कश्मीरी, दैट everything will be done through ballot, even if it's about resisting, protecting your identity, even if it's about showing some anger in a democracy, that we are here to do it democratically. And that's what all of us wanted. You wanted it.
So what you're saying is, don't turn this into politics. Don't turn this into
don't
politics.
turn it into politics, into sense of defeat to the people of Kashmir कि हमने कर दिया आपने नहीं किया. I think we should welcome this collectively, and it's a big national integration movement that has happened after 30 years. It should be celebrated and not given any color.
Okay, Arif Pathania ji, if you'd like to respond to that, because Wahid ने बोला, नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस के भी स्टेटमेंट्स आए हैं कि जो लोग यहाँ कहते हैं कि नॉर्मलसी है, ये देखिए नॉर्मलसी बिल्कुल नहीं है. Wahid didn't say that. Wahid just said, let's celebrate this as a moment of collective democracy, and that is what Pakistan can't digest. Before you respond, I'd just like to play out Minister Jitendra Singh's statement. एक मिनट अगर उनको हम सुन ले, and then I'll come to you.
हर आम नागरिक को उसकी चिंता भी है, उसके लेकर के रोष भी है, लेकिन हम ये आश्वस्त रहे हैं जैसे मोदी जी ने कहा कि जीरो टॉलरेंस टुवर्ड्स टेररिज्म, उसी नियम का पालन करके हुए आगे की कार्रवाई भी निर्धारित की जाएगी.
So the government, the new government, within 3 days of being sworn in, is having to reiterate its policy of zero tolerance for terrorism, and we don't know what what shape and form that counter response will take. We'll talk to both Ved Saab and Hussain Saab about that. Mr. Pathania, on the politics, the fact that some of the valley-based parties are saying कि ये देखिए normalcy कहाँ है, normalcy कहाँ है, आप क्या कहेंगे?
Barkha, I think there are 3 or 4 aspects of the background issue which we're discussing here in this show. First of all, that ultimately, and which my friends across the board have also accepted, that ultimately that people of Jammu and Kashmir, they have showed their solidarity, their confidence in the Constitution of India, and virtually the political process and elections. Whatsoever they have to do through the ballot. One part. Secondly, Article 370, it was an article of duplicity, deception, demagoguery, and virtually it promised and it did not give anything to anybody. So there's a message which has gone down the spine of each and everybody that virtually this is over now. Now we were taught and we were fed and we were preached and we were practiced about azadi, freedom, self-rule, autonomy. Nothing will happen. Whatsoever we have to get, we will get from Bharat Sarkar, and that is the only the Constitution of India is the only spring where from we will get some succor, some relief, some development, some employment. One message. Second message, that first of all, the successful conduct of elections, then historic turnouts, then once again a mazboot sarkar, फिर एक बार मोदी सरकार swearing on the same day, then events across the border in a Pak adhikrit Jammu and Kashmir, they might have acted as an incendiary also, and more so if you see the operation all out of Bharat Sarkar, all Hawala channels blocked, some publishing houses booked, the employees, certain employees, not employees, a very, very small bunch of employees who were found involved in fostering terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir, they were brought to the book, they were punished, they were shunted out also. So there's an operation all out. And in this operation all out, it is very difficult for the terror support network to survive. So I think this is a new module, this is a new system, and rather this is out of frustration, as General Hasnain said, a layer within Pakistan. It's a layer. If we say the terrorism in Pakistan, a layer within Pakistan had tried to shift the narrative, but be confident, be patient, and please have faith in us. We stick to our stand, zero tolerance, and we stick to freeing Jammu and Kashmir from the scourge of militancy and terrorism. Terrorism shall be blotted out from the territory of Jammu and Kashmir, lock, stock, and barrel. The
Okay.
perpetrators of these heinous crimes against humanity and the people of Jammu and Kashmir shall not at all go unpunished. A beleaguered, a bewildered, a battered Pakistan is just trying to find relevance and to find ground and to find support and to find a point among the international community. We now these incidents stand as a challenge to each and everybody, to the
Okay.
establishment, to the security, to we people, to the political parties also. So the last punchline lanes that we as politicians, as political parties, we need to behave, we need to act responsibly. I won't nominate anybody, but the way these statements have come out from the top leadership of national political parties, of certain local political parties, I think this is too sensitive an issue to play petty politics over. So my humble request, not a
Okay.
pointer, not a political, not to score a political
I,
brownie point. So this
yes.
humble request, please, brother.
Okay, Wahid, very briefly on this point that Patania ji made. There are some statements I have seen from valley-based politicians जिन्होंने बात की है कि ये देखिए आपने कहा कि बंदूक चली गई, बंदूक तो यही थी. Now the point is ये बंदूक जम्मू और कश्मीर के लोगों की तो नहीं है, ये बंदूक तो बाहर की है. तो why are we linking the normalcy debate with the sort of gun culture debate? Wahid, please go ahead. Wahid, you're on mute. Please, if you can unmute yourself. Wahid ji, आप mute पे हैं. थोड़ा अपने आप को unmute करिए ना, please.
Barkha,
जी.
we condemn this act and all such acts in the strongest words. सबसे ज़्यादा हमसे ज़्यादा कोई सफ़र कर ही नहीं सकता और जिन्होंने ये देखा है भुगता है सबसे ज़्यादा हम समझते हैं और इस आज भी जो इंसिडेंट हुआ इवन इफ इट हैज हैपेंड इन जम्मू नियर एलओसी नियर द बॉर्डर इसका इम्पैक्ट हम पे ही होगा और हम ये भी समझते हैं दिस इज एन एक्ट टू प्रोवोक एंड पोलराइज द प्लेस इट विल हैव अ ह्यूज रैमिफिकेशन ऑन ऑल ऑफ अस सो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज कि जब पठानिया साहब ने कहा कि कहीं से स्टेटमेंट आ सकते हैं कुछ लोग बोल सकते हैं लेकिन दे हैव टू आल्सो एज अ नेशनल पार्टी बी वेरी केयरफुल व्हेन दे आर इशूइंग स्टेटमेंट्स लाइक आई सेड दैट देयर इज अ ह्यूज प्रोसेस दैट पीपल ऑफ कश्मीर हैव इनिशिएटेड इन दिस इलेक्शंस you should respect this you should take care of it it's a huge sensitive political process जो लोगों ने खुद इनिशिएट किया है और उस प्रोसेस में स्टेटमेंट्स से ही स्टेट इसको सेल करने से नैरेटिव वॉर बनाने से कई चीज़ें हो सकती है कई लोग थ्रेटन हो सकते हैं कई लोगों को आइसोलेशन लगेगी ऐसे इंसिडेंट हो सकते हैं तो वी हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल आई थिंक मोर इंपॉर्टेंट इज दैट टू रेस्पेक्ट द होल पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेस दैट हैज हैपेंड इट्स अ ह्यूज शिफ्ट इट्स नॉट एन इवेंट it's not an election which is a normal election it's not an event centric election it's a huge process that has been initiated by people of Kashmir and
I
it
think
should be taken to the logical conclusion.
I think on the shift in the election, we would all agree. The kind of people, the people there were no boycott calls this time. The kind of sort of, as even Wahid called it, a national integration moment that we saw was extraordinary. But let's come back to what happens next. General Hasnain, क्या होगा?
See, first of all, let me compliment both Patania Saab and Wahid. I've attended so many of your shows and have had so many politicians from Kashmir on the show that today I feel very happy that despite the kind of events which have happened, there is no animosity between the political communities, different parties out here. The kind of maturity which is being shown by their statements actually is very, very heartening for all of us.
Absolutely.
The second thing which I would like to say is I think we have forgotten one very important issue. You are looking at only the elections for the Lok Sabha which have gone by, not looking at the Supreme Court's direction for 30th of September by which time the assembly elections have to be held. Now, Lok Sabha elections are important, all right. But the final nail in the coffin of Pakistan will be if the same turnout comes out in the assembly elections, which it will, I'm sure, because mostly these are bread and butter elections. And if they come out, it will be a certain confirmation of the narratives which my friend Wahid was just speaking about. So this is what the dissuasion for that has begun now. I interpret this action as an attempted beginning, just a trigger for the attempted dissuasion to prevent people coming out, to disrupt the elections, because that will be a huge message to the world. 1996, if you remember, we had Lok Sabha elections. Similarly, later on, also the assembly elections. And as we progressively went along till 2019, we have had elections. And that is one thing on which no one could point a finger at India ever. This will be the final culmination. And I think that's a very important aspect for us to remember. We have to safeguard those elections. We have to make sure that we give a secure environment, even more secure environment than the one which was given for the Lok Sabha elections just now. Having said that, I think counters have to be carried out. Now, I did write this article in which you may have read it on the aspect of the red lines, that the red
Of
lines
course.
have to be redrawn. That's for the national political authority to decide. I'm sure everyone is sitting there, very, very good security minds, strategic minds which are sitting there, which are deciding this, and they will decide upon it finally. The success of the last time these two things happened, 2016, the surgical strikes, 2019, the Balakot or the Jamba Top strikes, conveyed a huge strategic message, and things were quite different thereafter. Something similar may have to be thought out. At this time, it's a little premature for us to discuss this and even sort of point fingers at what it could be. But internally, what Wahid Saab and I have been involved with, counter-terrorism, that is the main thing that we have to be looking at inside. What can we do here? I think the time has come to go back to basics. There are some things which have been forgotten. The strength of terrorists is very low today. I could debate and I could accept a lot of other arguments for people to say, but I suggest the time has come to actually carry out large-scale operations in the Pir Panjal tracts. Because these areas are, they can house 15, 20, 30, 40 terrorists anywhere, and you could not find them anywhere. But the moment you start undertaking large-scale operations, perhaps you start displacing people. If you don't do that, if you try only surgical operation, then you don't get human intelligence, you don't get technical intelligence. It doesn't make a difference to these people. They act with impunity everywhere. So there have to be some large-scale operations which must be planned out for this. Secondly, this is should be seen in the midterm. We got to develop our human intelligence all over again. There is no organization better than that than the Jammu and Kashmir Police. The Special Operations Group, SOG, the CIK, or the Counterintelligence Kashmir, I've operated with them, and I can tell you they are par excellence. They are the best in the country. They are the people who have to be re-empowered to go ahead and give us the maximum inputs that they can.
I have a question. I have a question before I go to SP Vaid, and then for concluding remarks to our political leaders. You said counter-terrorism will have to be thought of. J&K police has been a counter-insurgency police now for decades, as have been other paramilitary forces as well as the military. The military, instead of guarding only the LOC and the borders, has had to do counter-terrorism as well. When you say large-scale operations, you may have to go back to the drawing board and look at revisiting a surgical strikes type option. The question for any country becomes, which does every terror strike lead to the same response? Because clearly Pakistan or Pakistan-backed groups or the deep state of Pakistan is trying to test you, provoke you, test you, provoke you, test you. How do you calibrate that response?
And that is the core question. And that's the question which a lot of people in Delhi are asking us. There are no immediate responses to that. As I told you, this has to be thought through, wargamed at the national strategic security level. We can't start responding to every single thing which keeps happening here. We can carry out covert operations. We can ensure that it hurts Pakistan much more than what we have been able to hurt it so far. But as a responsible nation, India by and large carries a reputation of not doing these kind of things. But obviously we have to turn to that. Because if you've got neighbors who are involved in that, in attempting to try and make you uncomfortable, you have to make sure that you take all those measures to make your neighbors uncomfortable, if that's the way the game has to be played. So those decisions will be taken at the national level, but I think locally, formations, state police, the army, etc., they can still get their act together completely on this through going back to the best practices of counter-terrorism. Satvavinash, if you remember, Hilkaka operation of 2003, something on those lines. It doesn't have to be a copycat operation, but something like that can obviously pay dividends.
Okay, we have 2-3 minutes left. Wahid Saab, your concluding thoughts?
Barkha, taking forward what General Hassan said, I don't want to repeat. I think Sat Binash, the Hill Kaka operation, we all know about. I think something needs to be sorted out in Rajouri Punch. Things are uh, not very good. I think forget the politics part, forget the other things. It is a job to be done by the Indian Army and JNK police and other forces together. And we had, I was explaining, how Pakistan uh, was able to infiltrate in the Rajouri Punch sector.
Mhm.
Like 2 dozen people, whatever is their number. Some estimate says 30, some estimate says 25. Some of these hardened, battle hardened, Afghan trained terrorists, some of them, I'm told, with Pakistan regulars and armed with the American weapons. Now they
Mhm.
need to be sorted out. They need to be sorted. Something is amiss. You may not be getting technical intelligence because of the kind of communication they're using. I think on the human intelligence front, we need to improve. I was suggesting engage some of the local boys. We had fought terrorism with these boys of Rajouri Punch. Some of them, maybe 500, 1,000 people, put them with the army and JNK police. They know वो इस जंगल में बकरियां चराते हैं. They graze their cattle. They know each every pakdandi. They know where are the places to hide in the jungles. I think these people will be able to provide a lot of intelligence. And some people say these terrorists are getting food uh, through a cutout point. Somebody is asked to drop a food packet because they can't get so much of ration from Pakistan for 6 months or 1 year. It's not possible. So somebody is feeding them. How is their food items coming? So I think these local boys will be able to of great help.
Yes.
And we need to, JNK police needs to have its acts together. I think better coordination between different forces and intelligence agencies. And yeah.
Okay. Let me bring in Pathania ji, and then I'll come to Wahid. Pathania ji,
Please,
your thoughts. As a politician, I think General
please.
Hussain made a very important point. कि हम सब लोकसभा की बात कर रहे हैं, असेंबली तो अभी होनी है.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And this is as good a battle of bullets, and this is more a battle of nerves also. So let's put and project out that there is a historic tourist season in Kashmir. No rooms available for guests in Kashmir. Amarnath Yatra already overpacked, and
Mhm.
Jammu and Kashmir bracing up for assembly polls and keep it on record that the overall turnout in the Lok Sabha shall be surpassed with a record voter turnout in the assembly elections. Now it's a secondary question: who comes, who wins, and who forms the government. That's a secondary question, but the primary question is that the people of Jammu and Kashmir go and elect a more inclusive, a more participative democracy, reflecting their longing for a better Jammu and Kashmir, for a Jammu and Kashmir with jobs, with development, and with better relations with Bharat Sarkar also. I think this is the basic punchline. And we politicians, media persons, the civil society, the security strategists and specialists, we all need to be very, very responsible. We all need to be very, very emancipative, and we need not to press the panic button. We need to be talk of the positive things also. So Kashmir and virtually Jammu and Kashmir is virtually transforming, and virtually it has transformed. When why shouldn't we talk of that overall? If we see the parameters of militancy, there's a considerable showdown. So these stone peltings, hartals, and that boycott culture, that is no more. Virtually, the genie is now out of the bottle. The cat is out of the bag now. Pakistan is not able to contain and put it
Hmm.
back in the
Back.
bag. So I think this is frustration at level of the Pakistan also. And hopefully, as General Saab said, we should brace up for a historic voter turnout in the ensuing assembly elections. And then, furthermore, also building a better trust, building the better confidence of the people, building the better faith of the people by the transparent processes, by greater spread of the Bharat Sarkar's policies and programs, which virtually win the hearts and minds of the people of Kashmir, which virtually will instill their confidence amongst the Constitution of India, amongst the processes of India, and the policies and programs of a people-friendly Sarkar is scheduled in New Delhi also. So I think these are a few steps we need to aim
Yes.
at, we need to conjure, and we need to contrive, and we need to take care of it. This is my humble take on the point on the matter issue,
Okay.
madam.
Okay. Wahid, would you like to add to that?
Do not, Delhi should not read this Jammu and Kashmir turnout, huge turnout, mere participation in election process. There's a huge message in the turnout and participation that should not be, misread or not be avoided because of such incidents, terror incidents. And it's a huge, I think it's a huge breakthrough for Delhi to initiate a process in Jammu and Kashmir with the people of Kashmir. It's a huge message. You should understand that. And just because there are efforts by some forces, there are incidents happening which are definitely to derail the huge, large political participation. You should really focus on the larger things, not just fall prey to such incidents. That's more important message for everyone.
General Hassan, just one line on the assembly. I think both our political leaders agree that there is an attempt to derail that. Ved Saab has also said that. Um, any thoughts? Because Jammu and Kashmir people have lived in the shadow of the gun for so long. This was the first campaign that was done without that shadow. Now that shadow seems to be back. Just a quick 30-second.
See, Barkha, in the past, we have always worked very hard, prepared a lot for all these election electoral events which have taken place. I remember 1999, I was standing at Avantipur watching the gunfights which were taking place all along the valley in South Kashmir, from Pulwama going up to Bijbihara and beyond, right? That kind of you can't afford to ever have that kind of a thing return again. We have to work very hard, and we have to convert this goodwill that we are creating at the moment, convert it to an actual security environment. You see, we just think that only outreach to the people is just about good enough. It is the outreach to the people which has to be converted into a proper goodwill, which will ensure that people, that Pakistan cannot take you for a ride on this whole issue. We have to work very hard, and that includes the Gujjar community, particularly in this area of Jammu, Rajouri and Poonch.
Okay, that is a very important point. You have to take the local residents along. Mr. SP Ved also made that point. We'll leave it there. Thank you, particularly to our two politicians, for not reducing this into a competitive politics debate. I think it's very important at moments like this. To Aris Pathania, Wahid Para, SP Ved, General Hasnain, always a pleasure. Thank you and take care. And to our audience, thank you and see you tomorrow.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.